What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast for the week of June 20th, 2017. I'm your host, Sean Malloy, joined, as always, my boys, the man from the Emerald Isle himself, Mr. Ronan Fox.
What's happening, guys?
What's up, man? And the pride of the Grand Canyon, say himself, Mr. Kent Kingsford, as we're both boiling in heat. Oh, he's also hot, so this is how we do it. We do puns and shit.
I'm just going to throw up this hoodie because it's goddamn freezing over here.
I got something we can throw up right there.
Yeah, right there, buddy. I walked outside and it was just like, nope. I went right back inside. I was like, I'm gonna go get the mail. I turned around and went right back in.
I accused the dog of being high today for wanting to go outside.
Oh, dude. Yeah, my dog does the thing. It's like 4:00 on the money. He knows it's time to go outside and play ball or whatever. And he walks into like the media room and he's like, "Is it time?" I'm like, "Dude, no. Like you'll probably die. Like no joke. Like it's not gonna go well for you." So anyway, Ronan, speaking of the desert heat that you just got back from the country, my friend. How was it?
It was absolutely amazing, and 100% I would live in America. So the couple of things that kind of I took away from being there, first of all, is how big is LA? Like that thing is ridiculous. Like that was the first sense of scale of America. Like you look at maps and you realize the size of the place, but it's only when you're really flying over cities like LA that you really get a grasp of the size of that country. I think we were flying over it felt like a half an hour, and it was just constant buildings and just the whole city sprawled out.
Most people don't realize LA is like, you weren't flying just over LA, you were flying over tons of cities in Southern California, but Southern California is so developed that LA and the city next to it and the next 30 cities next to it heading east have no gaps. It's just city after city after city after city.
Crazy. Like, how do you get to the countryside when you're living in the middle of that place? It's just
you don't
carpool lane, drive 80.
Yeah, there's no countryside. Like if I want to see countryside, I drive up a mountain for 45 minutes, and that's kind of countryside.
I don't know if you saw it flying over, but there's like mountains. California is one of the few places that has mountains sticking up out of the city, and then people go.
I took a picture because it felt like Mount Gilead from Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. It's like the same. Yeah. So once you fly over, you fly over the mountains, and you're like in this bowl, and that entire bowl is like that LA basin. So that's LA, and it shoots out all the way until you hit pretty much me. And then it's a bunch of flat, and it's a bunch of desert, and there's like it's an outlet mall where you do shopping, and then it's 3 hours of nothing, and then you hit Kent. I'm like, that's it. That's exactly what happens. It's one freeway, one highway.
So just a couple of other things I have to say about the Americans. Now, I don't know whether it's a fake persona that you put off, but you're unbelievably polite. I mean, it was kind of, it was scary at some stages because it's like, are these people like putting this on, or are they actually this polite? Because in Ireland, like we're just kind of, the way I come across. It's like, take it or leave it. But over there they really, they're not even bumping into you, and they're like, "Wow, I'm so sorry," like, and it's like it's okay, like. In Ireland, if you bump into someone, you're like, get the hell out of the way.
Fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was just it was a once in a lifetime opportunity to go there, and I haven't even got to where I was. Vegas was just it was amazing. Like when we went in, me and my wife didn't know what to expect. We knew the whole party scene, and we knew that it was gamblers and this, that, and the other. But the sense of people not caring what you look like or how you dressed, or you could just walk around in a pair of shorts and there's guys beside you in a suit and tie, and they're throwing $1,000 onto the table, like to get their chips or whatever, and you're throwing a tenner beside them, and you felt very equal. Like it didn't matter where you were. In the Strip, like we went to a couple of places that Kent recommended. One of the top places that we really enjoyed was the Culinary Dropout. Yeah. That was probably our favorite because it reminded us a little bit of home, like a little bit of the kind of pub food that you get back home. I went for the fried chicken, Kent, because you recommended that one.
Nice.
Pretty.
This is like known for that.
So it was delicious. Like we got one between us, which was perfect. We had like 2 massive pieces of chicken each. Your portions are way too big. Like I don't know how you guys stay from just being like 400 pounds or whatever. But
I have to burn about 600 calories every single day. Like that's how I do it.
Yeah.
We also went to In-N-Out. We were really drunk when we went to
In-N-Out.
Yeah, okay.
We have to pause this right here because Kent and I got into an internal debate of how to settle the In-N-Out situation before you go. So, did you go all balls to the wall and go animal style first, or did you go normal first and then try animal style to figure out like the layers of flavors?
Okay, so Tracy went for normal and I went for animal style.
Smart.
And so we were able to basically mix and match. But I mean, I would have ate both easily. I thought they were delicious. I understand what the animal style, like the animal style is that it's obviously that sauce that they put over it. Yeah, it's that
It's
kind of
sauce, melted cheese, and then grilled onions on the top of
yeah.
it.
So
And then
it was.
they actually put a little bit of mustard on the meat and the bun too, and cook it in on them, like kind of
Oh,
weird.
I didn't know that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
It was one of the places where we got food like instantly. It was, you know, I'd go by the name In and Out, but like the place was absolutely packed, and it felt like we were in, got our food, and we were sitting down eating it. Like that's how good the service was there. A really good pizza place that we went to right beside In and Out on. I don't know whether you guys know the link, that strip there.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was our favorite place in all of Vegas. It was kind of reminded of us of Galway, a place called Shop
Cool.
Street in Galway, where it's just pubs and places to eat, and you know we felt very at home there. And it's like what we were blown away by is how clean the center of Vegas was. Now, obviously, when you go out to the say old Vegas, it gets a bit more
Yeah,
grimy. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like you get to see kind of the other side of Vegas, but I mean, right along in the main strip and along the link, it was just you could walk down there. We felt safe all the time. We traveled out to the Hoover Dam and the Grand Canyon
Oh, that's cool.
again.
Yeah.
Mind blown. I actually prefer the Hoover Dam, and the reason why I prefer the Hoover Dam is because I have a thing where I don't like paying to see natural occurrences in the earth. I think it's
Yeah.
a bit, you know, it's a bit of a money grab. Like this thing stretches out for miles and miles. Like you should just be able to walk up to it, see it, and go without forking out $50. The Hoover Dam is just park up, pay it, I think $10 for parking,
Yeah.
and just walk around and just see just how amazing the architecture is and the engineering that went into that thing.
It's also got Transformers inside, so that's a plus.
Yeah, exactly. So they went. We were in both states at the same time. So we took a picture where I was in Arizona and Tracy was in
Nevada.
Nevada. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Just looking down on the dam and realize how many movies were shot there was
Yeah.
amazing. It was just I had a great time. Like I was able to relax when I wanted to relax. I was able to go down to the pool parties and listen to music when I wanted to, you know, drink and party. I was able to gamble when I did. And Tracy has a real good head for gambling. She bets small, wins small, but she also put down chips on our son's birthday.
Yeah.
And she won. Okay, it was yeah, it was 6 black. So she won, but she never took her chips away, and the chips stayed there. So she had whatever she tripled up or whatever, and it came up again twice in a row. I am not joking.
God.
Nice.
And, yeah,
awesome,
so she won about $170 out of $10. She didn't bet again for the whole holiday, but she was happy with that anyway. Exactly. So the only bad thing that I can say about America, and this might be only down to a secluded nightclub, is we booked tickets to one of the big EDM scenes kind of DJs. Now I'm not big into the EDM scene, but I do like dance music. I think America it was kind of the birthplace of all the house, the Detroit house, and you know that really kind of old school house. But that disappeared for a while, and now you have the EDM scene, which is like cheesy dance music, the likes of Calvin Harris and Afrojack and stuff like that. So we booked tickets for a DJ called Armin van Buuren in the Omnia nightclub in Caesar's Palace, I think it is.
Uh-huh.
And we booked tickets like 2 days beforehand, and we went down, thought we were there early, and the queues were ridiculous. I mean, we were 2 hours waiting in one queue to be told that we weren't in the right queue. You have to go to the pre-booked tickets queue. So we went to that queue. We were another hour, and you know, Tracy's pregnant, so she couldn't stand for much longer. I just felt very unorganized. Like there was 5 different lines for 5 different things, and we didn't get in the end, like because we couldn't wait around much longer. But is that a case? Like, is that the case? Is it just queues everywhere?
I think with that specific thing, I think it just might be that secluded thing, because I don't think there's like a widespread, like, you know, queue line problem. But It sounds like that's just like I think that's just like a mess.
Anything you go to, anytime you go do anything, like I've noticed this since leaving California. Anytime you go do anything in Southern California, and I think Vegas is one of those weird places where so much transitioning back and forth happens that it's in that same zone as California. Like Vegas leans more towards what California's doing than what Arizona's doing.
Yeah.
But dude, you wait in line for fucking everything, and I didn't really notice that until I moved out of California and out of Nevada. Like out here in Arizona, man, I never have to wait for, like, even the DMV, bro. I'll go in 15 minutes, I'll be out.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Like I think it was maybe because
for people who don't know, California, if you want to go to where Sean lives, is probably one of the better DMVs in the state. Like, it's known for being quick, right? The Redlands one.
Yep.
If you want to get into Redlands, they open at 8 a.m.
8 o'clock.
They open at 8 a.m. You have to be in line by 6:45, or you're not getting in when they open the doors.
That is true.
Yep.
So it was a Saturday night, and the town was fairly hopping as well. And plus, Armin is, I don't know whether you know him, but he's up there with like the top 10 DJs in the world. So it was, you know, it was, you could apologize for the queues. I just thought it could have been organized a little bit better. The fact that we were, you know, waiting in one line, we didn't know whether it was here. You go to this line, that line, they're letting women in, you know, in a short little line. They're getting lads to go down. It was very unorganized, but that is literally the only bad thing I can say about America. Apart from that, it was one of the best trips I've ever had. The people over there, regardless of the manners and, you know, whether it's forced or not, the people, everyone we met were just really nice. They were so helpful. And the Hard Rock Hotel, I never even mentioned it, was just like, I don't know whether you guys stayed there, but it has,
that's one I haven't stayed at. Yeah,
it has the best pool I have ever seen. Like, it's palm trees, it's sand, and it's got sections where you can have family, it's got sections where you can have, you know, your pool parties, and it was just everything you needed in the hotel. Like, even walking around and seeing all the you know, the guitars, the signed drum kits, and it was amazing. I was blown away now, and that's the God's honest truth. I'm definitely going to go back to America. I probably won't go to Vegas again because I'll end up dying and losing all my money. But I'll definitely go back to America, 100%.
Yeah, nice, dude. I'm glad you had a good time, because I remember when you landed in Vegas, I think I was in LA for E3, so
nice.
We didn't we didn't cross those streams, but I can talk more about E3 later in the show. But like every once in a while, you like throw up pictures or whatever. I'm like, oh, Ronan's doing it right in Vegas, dude. Because it's like my style in Vegas. When I first turned 21, it was like, you know, the parties and drink myself stupid, and then do less gambling, but just do those two things. And as I've gotten older, it's like mix and match. I'm like, all right, I want to do like a one night of hard drinking. I want to do a one night of like hard partying, and another night of just
that's
like
what we did.
Gamble. Yeah, so I think you did it the right way. And I think from being from Europe and doing Vegas, everything I saw, I was like, I think Ronan did that perfect like balance of everything across the board of what Vegas has to offer. So no,
because we were there for 6 nights, so it's not like you could party for 6 nights straight, and you know, you just end up feling like crap at the end of it. So we kind of planned it out, and we can do it, like, but I'm just saying we planned it out, and we were happy the way we did. Like, the first couple of days the first day was chill because of the flight was so fucking long. The flight was long. And it was 3 flights. It was Dublin, Carolina, LA to Vegas. And I mean, the shortest one was LA to Vegas, but it felt like the longest because I told you,
man, it's a 40-minute flight. You go up and you come right back down.
Yep.
It was like on the way, it was like, you know, I was grand watching movies and that, and then you get to that other flight and it's like there's nothing to do, like, and you know, Tracy's pregnant and she was getting agitated. I was just like, get me off this thing. This better be worth it. But it was. It was so worth it.
I'm glad, man. I'm really glad that you heard that. I mean, that's a good transition because we start off every show with what are we playing. Ronan, you talked about the flight. I want to know what you played on the flight over, because the last time we had a show, we were throwing out like smaller RPG elements for you to tackle on the plane. You've also been playing Grand Theft Auto Online a little bit. I want to hear some experiences, but first I want to know the flight games, what you brought.
So 2 main games that I played on the flight were, first of all, a game that I've already mentioned on the show previously that I never really, you know, finished or got far into, was Persona 4. I restarted it and went through it, set it to normal this time because I set it to hard the first time around because I do like a bit of a challenge, and I felt like it was a little too grindy on hard, so I just set it to normal, and yeah, I got by like the first main dungeon. I don't know whether you guys played it, but you
Not in
can
a long
play a
time.
lot of video game on a plane, especially when it's
Yeah, you
16
can.
hours. Do you know what I mean? Like
Whew.
you can really get stuck into especially an RPG like that, and you're kind of, I don't know whether you ever get the feeling where you're on a long flight. It happened to me on the way home where you don't want the flight to end because you're in a really cool part of the game.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want this flight to end, and everyone's like sweating or like, get me off this thing. And I was there like stuck in my little world of Persona. The game is phenomenal. It's when I played it first, I had the same kind of feeling of it. But I think it's perfect for traveling and, kind of long haul flights and stuff like that. I haven't touched it since I came home, but it's sitting there. The save file is there, ready to go whenever I want to jump back in. And the second game I played was I picked up a classic, and the classic was Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Awesome.
I got it. Yeah, I had it for, I can't remember what system it was. Was it PS2?
It's
I know
PS1.
PS1, yeah.
PS1.
So I had it for that, and I never really gave it much of a chance back then because the game is difficult. It's got some really deep mechanics, even for a game that's that old. It's I can see why many people compare it to Dark Souls, because you do have the dodge element, you do have the different weapons. One thing that kind of blew my mind about the game is the animation still holds up today, like the way his kind of cloak flows, the way he kind of goes into a kind of a fast run, the way they have it blurred. It's a timeless kind of art style. If you play games like even say Grand Theft Auto 3, the graphics in them games can age quicker than a game like Castlevania, because the art style, for me, it's just timeless. And it's great that there's games out there that, you can still pay them 15, 10, 20 years later, and they still hold up today. I think that's something that kind of all retro games has over the likes of a PS1 game or a PS2 game, or PS3. Like even some PS3 games look older than Castlevania, but I got really far into it. Actually, I'm probably going to clear that game. And yeah, have you guys played that one? Or
I played it back on PS1. Like I have that jewel case somewhere.
was it originally on PS1, or is it older than that? It was originally
No, it was originally on PS1.
PS1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just feels older for some reason.
Yeah, and then I've had it, like I've bought it digitally probably like I don't know, like 2-3 times across to everything. But it's one of those games I always have on my console, like in my download queue, that if I ever like want to like play it again, download it. That thing's like, less than a gig, which is like insane now to think about. But I can download that in 45 seconds, like a minute.
Super difficult.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But I agree with you, and I really agree with the point of when you brought up Grand Theft Auto 3, is that game was dated like 3-4 years down the line. I remember like playing that again when it came out on Xbox, like later. Then I'm like, oh, like even this is like 2 years later, but they cleaned up everything.
Yeah.
There's something about that 16-bit, like 32-bit like sprite design where it doesn't get old. Like you can look at that and see it and appreciate that art style in a way that like Grand Theft Auto doesn't work. You don't have to deal with pop-ins or anything like that. So no, I'm with you, man.
Yeah, I played it on PS1 and then I downloaded it on Vita like you did. Great on a flight game, like especially when I used to travel a lot for work. I agree, definitely. Like you can get older than the 16-bit era and they don't age well, and there's like a middle zone. I think the stuff we're seeing now is probably going to age well just because people have gotten back into art style instead of it. I feel like the bad areas of graphics are when people were just trying to make it look like something with the limits of the technology,
Yeah.
The 3D, I think, was, that's a kind of a bit of its failing. Like when the 3D was not even as far back as, say, N64, but I think just 3D in general, 2D seems to hold up a lot better for some reason. Now, maybe because all the backgrounds are hand-drawn or whatever. I don't know how it works, but and I think there's something special about that as well.
No, I agree. Ken, Ronan harkened to that Castlevania reminded him of Dark Souls. I'm going to segue into that because you have been playing Dark Souls 3. So what we got there, sir?
Playing Dark Souls 3.
There you go.
I have learned something very important about me in Dark Souls 3.
You can break a controller in half with your bare hands.
You don't like Dark Souls 3.
We just don't like each other still. I tried Demon Souls when it first came out, and I've said before on the show, and I just didn't care for it. And I really like Bloodborne. And I figured out, me and my buddy were kind of talking it out. I know why I don't really like Dark Souls. It's nothing against the game. It has everything to do with me psychologically. I don't like playing games where I have to spend my whole time on my heels. And that's what that game is like constantly being backed up. Like you're always kind of working your way, hoping that something opens up. And I really don't enjoy that type of play. I ran through it to the point that I'm like, after you discover the main hub, and then you go to that tower. Yeah. I'm like 2 or 3 bonfires into that tower, and I'm over it. Like it's not. Maybe I'll come back to it. I'm not going to sell it because everything that I like about Bloodborne's in there. Like I can feel it in there, which is what's frustrating because the controls are crisp. It's pretty fair. I just, I feel like the game makes me turtle up, but because that's against my play style, to me, the guard doesn't feel fair. The guard feels like it's a bullshit guard, but it's really that I just suck at guarding because I don't ever do it. So
now, see, we've talked about Dark Souls like on the show before, and it's not for me. It's for Ronan. You can take it or leave it. But you were playing Killing Floor 2, a free PlayStation game on PS Plus this month. I haven't touched it. Ro, have you touched it at all?
No, but I have it downloaded and ready to go. I'm just waiting possibly for Kent to hop on with me or yourself.
Yeah, Kent. Give us like the elevator pitch. Like, what the hell is Killing Floor 2, and should we play this?
So basically, Killing Floor 2 is if you were to take Call of Duty Zombies and streamline it and make it less of a grind and more about the team play and getting in and getting shit knocked out quick. If you were to take the speed of Call of Duty Zombies and amp it up 2 times, that's what Killing Floor is. It's not as and because of that, you can't play that Alamo stuff that you play in Call of Duty Zombies, and they've done a lot of stuff to address that. It's I think it's really fun, but its fun only really lies in having a group of people you like to play with. That game is not, in my opinion, not fun with randoms in any way, shape, or form. It's got to be people you know. You got to be on the chat. It's about having fun as a group as opposed to experience or playing it with randoms or playing against other people. The big thing is, in my mind, is that it's more bite-sized friendly than Call of Duty Zombies was, which I've always enjoyed the zombie stuff for the most part, but the hard part is getting people to stay on after like 3 runs at an hour a whop,
Yeah. So like that, I mean, everything you're saying is kind of, making me want to play it. So we'll have to schedule like an evening evening for us, morning for Rowan to figure out some time to jump on and start knocking that stuff out because it sounds fun. And like the CG trailer that dropped like with the PlayStation Plus announcement, I was like, this is appealing to me of like what I want to do, especially because we talked before the show. I'm literally burning everything off my backlog right now since we're in the doldrums of summer. So yeah, we'll get it going soon. To talk about the doldrums of summer really quick, the 2 things I've been playing, well, technically I guess it's 3, is the Batman Arkham remasters from Rocksteady. They came out like, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. I didn't find a reason to pick them up at the time. They were on sale on the PSN for $15.99 for both games. I was like, $8 a game. Haven't played these in a while. Worth picking up. Those games hold up extremely well. When we're talking about art style and how the gameplay mechanics just work, going through Arkham Asylum the first time, the edges aren't as crisp as they were on a PS3, but the mechanic of doing that game or playing that game and having it Metroid style and picking up the different weapons and how you maneuver like through the world itself, it holds up, man. And that Batman story is insanely good, other than that last weird Joker fight where he's like a gigantic mutant. I was like with a mohawk. I'm like, this is where you guys lost it, man. But and then starting up Arkham City, I totally forgot that you start out as Bruce and you have to break into it. In the moment that you get the suit and you throw on the gloves and you glide over to like a City Hall, it's fantastic, man. I can't wait to see whatever like Rocksteady ends up making next, which is highly anticipated. I thought it was going to be at E3, not so much. And the other thing I finished up recently was a Rhyme by Tequila Works. This game was famous for being through like development hell. It was supposed to be a Sony exclusive. Sony walked in there, pulled their dev kits, saying like, "You're not working on this game hard enough." So now we're multi-platform. I was able to get a copy of it for free from the developer. But I gave them all the recognition and praise they should have, because what that game is this 6.5-hour experience of a boy that's washed up on shore of this mysterious island. You have no idea how he got there, the context of what he's doing there. And over the course of the game, you figure it out slowly and surely. And then you get to the end of the game and it's this gut punch of emotion. And it's like, I don't I get emotional in movies and in books, but rarely games have that effect on me. But this was one where you realize what happened, and it resonated like emotionally with me. Like I went out and I jumped on Twitter and I tweeted at those guys. I was like, listen, you guys have something. You had something incredibly special, and like thank you for it. And like all the devs started like liking the tweets and stuff and replying back. So please, if you're listening to the show and you haven't played Rhyme by Tequila Works, it's on all platforms right now. Go pick that up. It's
What genre
retail.
is it? Like adventure?
No, I guess it would be adventure, but it feels like it's puzzly, but it's adventure, but it's not like as in depth as like let's say The Witness or anything like that. But it's got that kind of same art style where it's not quite cel shaded, but it kind of looks that way. But much easier than The Witness, but you're still enveloped in the story of unwrapping and like how we're going.
It's not in VR, is it? Or is that
No.
what I see? It's not VR, no?
No, it's not VR. But no, it's great, man. Like I love it. Like when it came out, retailed for 30. I'm seeing it online at places for like 22. If you don't want to play full retail, let it drop a little bit more. But that game is fantastic, man. Everyone should play that game. And kudos to Tequila Works one more time for creating an awesome piece of gaming software. So with that, we're moving on to the next section, which is going to be like the massive section. So the last show we did our E3 predictions. I didn't write anything down, so I don't know what I actually got correct. But I want to say we're like 99% of all our predictions came true. We're pretty good, right?
I
yeah,
betted 50%. I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's more like 50%. Like I was way off too. But anyway, I want to take the show and actually like block this off appropriately per E3. Our Nintendo takeaways, our Xbox takeaways, and our PlayStation takeaways. As this is a primarily focused PlayStation show, I want to save Sony until the end. I'm going to start with Nintendo. It's a thing I know least about. I have a Switch sitting here that hasn't been played. My takeaways from Nintendo are like really, I mean, they're not anything deep. I think the two Metroid announcements were great for that, like for that platform and for the company. Metroid Prime 4 specifically, kind of a surprise. I would think they would do something a little bit different, not going back to the first person genre. The audience freak out over a logo, which is like the craziest shit like I've ever seen. It's like, oh my god, it's Metroid. I'm like, yeah, dude. They only announced that they are working on this game. It's the same beef that when people were kind of making fun of the Final Fantasy VII remake on PS4 or the Shenmue 3 game on PS4. It's kind of like the same deal. It's getting worked on. We don't know what place it is yet. And then there's the remake of Metroid 2 on 3DS that I forget the name of. Can you remember that one by any chance?
I do not,
because
I don't own the 3DS.
Samus Returns. I want to see it's like something like Samus Returns, but that seems like old school enough for like the fans to be happy. My thing with Metroid, people like clamor for this franchise to come back. The problem is it never sells, and that's why Nintendo like has these huge development cycles of not development, but like release cycles of these games coming out. It's like they don't sell, fan uprising happens, and so they make another one, and then it doesn't sell, and then people get mad that they're not making another one. Like, you guys have to buy the game. You have to put your money where your mouth is for them to continue. This isn't Mario Kart. This isn't Super Mario. So I don't know. Like it's just.
I will say, in fairness, the last few Metroids have been missteps.
Have they?
Two Metroids have been missteps.
It was Other M in Prime 3.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
anyways, there was a couple of duds in there. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. They don't ever sell well. I think though that it's smart to revisit the stuff every once in a while just to see how deep the cult following has gotten. Every once in a while, you tap into a cult following. Like if you were to ask somebody 2 years before the Deadpool movie released, hey man, how well do you think a Deadpool movie would do? Almost everybody would tell you, well, it'll probably do decent. It'll have a cult following. It'll probably if they do it right, it could get reviewed well,
Sure.
But for the most part, not going to be a summer blockbuster. And they waited long enough that they built up a deep enough cult following that it was tapping into this, instead of tapping into a well of followers, it was tapping into a fucking underground oil reserve. So maybe that'll happen with Metroid for Nintendo, but I don't think so. I think that it's more likely it'll be something weird that people don't really, they're not going to bring in the old people and they're not going to attract new people either. And that's where they keep screwing up a Metroid. Is I personally feel like the best route to do on Metroid would have been to release some virtual console games.
Or a virtual console at all.
Yeah. Bring in some 3DS stuff, get people hype on the high points of Metroid. Yeah. Then sort of take that feedback and release another game. but we're talking about Nintendo, who always kind of does things their own way. I will say though, one of my predictions that I got right: Pokemon coming to Switch. So
yeah, but not the way. Did we call it the right? Oh wait, which one? Oh, we didn't get Stars, but it was a full-fledged Pokemon game confirmed.
Yeah, it wasn't Stars. Yeah, okay. It wasn't Stars. Yeah. But it's a full-fledged RPG.
Yeah, I think that's cool. That's got me excited for owning a Switch because like I'll play the hell out of that, man. Mostly because I'm just like desperate to play the Switch for anything.
I'm kind of impressed with the Switch. I'm not gonna lie. Some of the stuff, some of the stuff that was announced at E3 was some of the most exciting. I mean, Super Mario Odyssey. I want to play that.
Dude, I played it. It's awesome. Yeah.
There you go. And I think for the first time, even with the 3DS and the other handhelds and the Wii, and I'm kind of more excited to play the Switch than all of them other systems combined. For whatever reason, like I know you guys kind of have your feelings about the Legend of Zelda. I'd like to actually pick that up and kind of give my own opinion.
Ronan, I think you'd go. I think that's your jam, dude. I think you'd love Zelda.
Just the stuff that I seen it. The art style is, it's so like a lot of people love that art style, but I think the fact that the amount of freedom and I haven't played the game, so I'm not even going to try and explain why I want to play it, but I just do. And I just think some of the moves that they're making, like they brought out the Switch, they brought out Zelda. Zelda got, great reviews across the board, and now they have a really solid base to build from that, and I think they're just doing a really good job.
The one thing that I heard, I think it was IGN's Nintendo show that talked about this is gonna be like one of these weird years where Nintendo is gonna have the 2 highest rated games like in the year, with Zelda first like in March and then dropping Mario like in I think it's like October 27th. And it's like your 2 like main competitions are Nintendo against Nintendo, which doesn't happen, man. But I'm telling you, like I got hands-on with Super Mario Odyssey. It is that casual fun that I haven't had since like Mario 64 and Sunshine, like playing with my like stepbrothers, like on a couch trading controllers back and forth. And then I realize I have trips coming up next year. I'm like, holy shit, I get to play like Mario Odyssey like on a plane. Like that's going to be awesome. And they're onto something incredibly special with Mario. Like I can say that for a fact. That thing is gonna
Sonic Mania as well.
See, I'm not the Sonic guy. Like I saw it. It looks cool. Am. Oh yeah, so dude. You're gonna. Everything I've heard from like that game is like it's perfect. Like it's exactly like what you want out of a Sonic game.
But it's good. It's good that kind of resurrection of like Mario doesn't need to be resurrected because he's been there through every system. But Sonic has got like people started to turn around and say Sonic isn't that good anymore. But you have to kind of look at the time that it came out in and the fun you had with that game. You can't just say it's not a good game because it hasn't aged well or the mechanics haven't aged well. But there was nothing like that back then. There was nothing that a fast kind of platform style game and. Sure. I was excited when I seen that. I have to be honest. I like just seeing that first level that I must have played 1,000 times on my Sega. It just it brought back some nice memories.
Yeah, and they're saying like there's going to be so many like hidden secrets in that game for Sonic fans to just love, including like when you boot it up, it's going to have that classic like Sega like sound to it. And I think those like that fan like service is so awesome when it comes to that game.
What systems is that coming out for? Is it
everything?
Everything. Okay.
It's everything. Yeah.
Nice.
It's when you walked into to the booth, you walked into the main hall, it was to the left, and it just said Sonic Sonic Mania everywhere. And it was usually like those booths have one system. Like you only play it on PS4 across the board, but they had Xbox controllers there, they had PS4 controllers there, and they had Switch Pros controllers.
Is that the first time it's been on a Nintendo system? A Sonic on a Nintendo system?
No, they were on Wii.
Nothing new, is it?
Yeah.
No.
But I mean, it and everything I played it on, it feels like Sonic, and that's like, and I wish I was a Sonic fan so I can like lose my shit more over this game. But Sonic fans are gonna go nuts, man. They're awesome. And then
well, I'm buying a Switch. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, Ty. It's happy, dude. You can throw that and turn it into like a fucking dinosaur, or like whatever you do. That game is so crazy, awesome. Dude. And the last thing, yeah.
I was gonna say, I think one thing that people because so much good came out of the Nintendo conference, but it felt kind of small and it felt kind of like protracted compared to the other ones. Yeah. But people got to remember, this is like a first E3 for that console, which is a disadvantage I think Nintendo sometimes forgets about, is that everybody's been sort of mentally put into this stage in the generation. And so everyone's like, okay, we've hit this point in the Xbox One, PS4 generation where things are starting to be consistently graphically better than last generation every time, almost no matter who makes it. And there's a lot of people that have been developing for 3 or 4 years, so there's a lot of games getting announced to the point that games are coming out. You don't even get them announced anymore, whereas initially everything gets announced because there's nothing coming out. And Nintendo's basically landing right in the middle of that and getting people to kind of go back to this older launch mindset where it's just a couple things here and there. I do think Virtual Console is a misstep by them letting that sit for so long.
Oh, dude, 2018. That's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean that's definitely like a step backwards. But I think if you would ask me like what first party like lineup like won E3. I'd be hard pressed to say anything but Nintendo. I think they killed it with their presentation. Yeah, I think they did great. Last thing really quick on Nintendo is no Smash Brothers was weird to me. I thought that was going to be a shoe-in, calling like Smash Brothers Deluxe, but that game might be so big. Yeah, we all know it's coming, but that game might be so big that it gets its own Nintendo Direct to go over like all those bells and whistles of what they're adding to it.
They'll definitely do that. I think they'll also. I think we're going to see them spread out the greatest hits of the Wii U across the generation of the Switch. And that's if they do it. It seems like that's what they're doing, and if they do it right, that's a smart move because then what they can do is they can create that kind of game flow that people want them to have. And it's kind of cheating to a certain extent, but it's nothing that the other manufacturers haven't done. With remasters and stuff. So. I think it's a really smart move on their part. We'll definitely get it, no doubt, and we'll get a deluxe edition with all the DLC in it already.
And you're just leaving money on the table, like if that's the point.
Right.
Ronan, anything last ads for Nintendo before we move on to the Xbox?
No, just that I was super excited when I seen the stuff coming out for the first time in a long time for a Nintendo system, and it makes me feel like if I see that thing on sale that I'm going to pick it up, even if it's for my son to play it. Like there's so many good games, like you said.
Your son. I want to buy it for my son to play. I bought the Vita for my son too.
Are we just going to do first party stuff?
What's that?
Are we just going to do first party conferences?
Yeah, I'm just going to run through first party real quick.
Because the most exciting game that came out on the Switch, and probably one of the most surprising games that came out at E3, is a Switch game. It came out at the Ubisoft conference, and I wanted to bring it up. Is Mario Rabbids. I think everybody wrote that game off on the auspice of Rabbids, and if you haven't got to check out the footage of it, it just looks really cool to me. Especially you have the sort of the Rabbids and the Mario galaxies sort of mixing together. They seem to have understood the tone between the two. Sure. And then it's going to basically play like XCOM portably.
Yeah.
It's just to me a brilliant game,
Yeah. Yeah, the only I've heard nothing but like positive things about that game too, especially with the whole XCOM mechanic of like how you're moving, how you're battling. The one thing I heard is like an absolute just bore of that game that's going to weight it down is traversing like the environment. How it's like you're pretty much like clicking, moving, like dragging like the 4 characters across the screen. But they have like 4 months or like 2 months to like fix that. But that was like their main takeaway. I kept hearing over and over again. It's once you get to the combat, it's like. It's perfection, like the way they handled that. But just getting to those moments are a little bit dull. It's all like, man, if they can clean that up, dude, I will honestly probably pick that game up for Switch because like I'm actually intrigued. It's nothing like I've played before, so I'm into it. So there you go. There's Nintendo. Moving on to Microsoft and Xbox. Right off the bat, 30 seconds into the Microsoft press conference, they dropped. It's not the Xbox Scorpio, as I called on Twitter. That so many people give me shit about because I saw a confirmation like 30 minutes earlier. It's called the Xbox One X with all the teraflops and whatever you need, and it's going to be $499 US. It comes out November 7th allegedly, but it still hasn't passed FCC regulations, so they actually can't order any parts yet. So they still have to be assembled. What was the last thing I heard that was going to be? And the smallest Xbox ever built. I think that's I don't know, man. Something about vapor cooling. And so like the memes went around the internet, the Xbox One X vapes, and I like laughed my ass off because it was like the greatest stuff I've ever seen. But like my first take is I have no idea who this console is for. They didn't announce any exclusive games for it. They didn't announce a reason to buy it. I think it's $100 too expensive if you want to compete with PlayStation at $399 for the Pro. There's only 2 games coming out like on day of release. It's Crackdown 3. And it's this weird what was that Fox game that came out? I don't know. It's like an anime. No, it's like a platformer.
It's almost like a 3D like a mascot platformer.
Yeah, it's
but
a
the
mascot
is
platformer.
nobody you've ever heard of.
No, and it's like those are the two games that are coming out November 7th with that system. I'm like, nope, that's a swing and a miss, man. And so it's like I think this is all over the place, and I think this like swelling of excitement for Scorpio, and I think it hit, and I think it was like just fizzled, and I think it fizzled in the same way that PS4 Pro announcement did, where you have all these ways to make this sound exciting to sell to your Xbox consumers, and you did not do it. All you would have to say is it runs load times better, it's twice as fast on the UI, it's cleaner looking games. It's just bam, 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 just lay it out. But it got muddled in the tech and no one cared. Like, I just think it's a mess. Like, this is a mess.
I think it's the intended customer is somebody who wants PC performance but doesn't want to deal with the hassle of having a PC, right? But the problem they got is that they'll never appeal to that customer. And Destiny 2 is already making this case for them, is that any game that has an important online interaction that's balance based,
yeah,
you can't have one group of people playing at 4K 60 and one group of people playing it at 1080 30. It's an unfair advantage. And so if the Scorpio got exclusive games that exclusively appealed to what Scorpio had to offer people, and it was a company that had a great first party stable, I think people would be really excited for it. But Xbox has dick shit for a first party stable right now. They came out on stage and they played some word games that even from a business standpoint were a little grimy. And then they doubled down on some of the ridiculous things they were saying later. They basically, to me, all the external indicators indicate that they went into this E3, this sort of large trade show, knowing that they were going to play PR games. And that's always a sign of a company that has a weak strategy. They don't know what they're doing. Now, I don't know if that's the case at Xbox, but externally in dealing with business before, you look at people that organize their company that way to sort of go to a trade show and kind of shit on the other people around them a little bit low key. It's because they're doing everything they can to divert attention away from the fact that what they brought is pretty hollow. And I think that's the problem here is you look at like, they want to talk about they're the place to play games the best. It's the most powerful console ever. And it's going to run nothing better than a PS4 Pro because there's going to be 4 times as many PS4s and 2 times as many PS4 Pros already in the market on the day it goes for sale. No developer is going to develop shit just for Scorpio unless it's a Microsoft developer. And Microsoft has, as I mentioned earlier, has kind of fallen away. And it's a bummer because Phil Spencer is a great guy. And Phil Spencer was a great first-party studio manager and their first-party flourished under him. But now that he's gone, I don't know who's leading that department. I should have, done a little homework for the show. But the reality is I don't think they're leading it very well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on everything you just said. Ronan, Xbox One X, did you I was trying to figure out, I don't want to spend 20 minutes just bashing them, but a part of me is
I'm not going to bash them. I'll be slightly on the other side of the fence. I think what it boils down to is exactly what Ken said is first party games. Like if you don't have them, it's kind of hard to buy a system that, if the PlayStation came out, like a powerful PlayStation like it did Pro, but if another one came out that was trying to, go up against the X, you'd immediately go with the whatever PlayStation, whatever it's going to be called, because of all these first party games, and you feel like you're getting a little bit extra. I mean, you can put all the power you want into a console, but if you're playing the same games on both systems, it's hard to kind of put your money towards. I think Kent got it right where, yes, it's for the kind of PC-minded gamers that really give a crap about their P's and their Q's. And I was listening to Phil Spencer on one of the IGN podcasts. I think it was actually Beyond, as far as I know. And he was saying all the right things. Like, he wasn't forceful, which I like. I don't like when it's like, you have to have this machine. He was saying you don't really have to have it, but if you do, this is what you're going to get. You're going to be able to play, 4K. You're going to be able to do this, that. But it sounds like to me that that's what the PlayStation Pro is. But with the PlayStation Pro, you're getting all these, first-party games that are coming out. I mean, PlayStation are killing it on every sense of the word. First-party games, they're after bringing out the Pro. It kind of just slipped into the marketplace and sold really well. We kind of had our differences on would it sell or would it not sell or who's it for, but it's doing fine. I just I don't know how the Scorp or the X, whatever the hell it's called, will do. I think it'll do just fine because I think there is enough people out there that are PC orientated, especially with Xbox, that it will do fine. I don't think it's the catch up card that they need, but I think that it's possibly announced a year too early. If they
Yeah.
announce this next year, with a shitload of first party games, I think, then you can kind of turn your head. But what's the point of buying it now when there's nothing really to play for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you brought up like a bunch of good points there, Ronan. I think when you're talking about it all comes down to like the first party launch games. I think that's exactly right. I think they spent a ton of time on stage talking about like third party games are coming out for all systems, and they did that entire console launch exclusive banner across everything with like, okay, what does that mean? Like technically, Inside last year was a console launch exclusive. It came out 2 weeks later on PlayStation, sold better on PlayStation. I think no matter what, Xbox is going to have that same kind of attach rate where PS4 to PS4 Pro is selling one console for every 5 normal PlayStations sold right now, and I think that's realistically what you can expect from Xbox. And they were ones to say like within that conference that these are like there's 2 different SKUs and you can get one if you want, but this is like a legitimate like pricier, like more horsepowery model, and like that's fine, like go for that, but you kind of have to lean into that. Don't demo Crackdown 3 showing that CG trailer where it doesn't look any better than like what a pro can run. Like maybe it can, but because that art style is very Crackdown, it doesn't look like quote unquote next gen or like future proofing or whatever. That being said, I don't want to like end the Microsoft portion of the show by like just continuing just to be like, oh, what are they doing? I thought Sea of Thieves looks like super rad. I think like having Simon Pegg do that voiceover for the entire like trailer, I thought it was super fun.
I thought it was
I was
awesome as
hearing,
well.
yeah, I was hearing stories on the show floor where there were players like taking a rowboat, parking it next to like a huge like galleon, hiding in a barrel, whistling for the crew to run down if they stole treasure. The guy would steal the treasure, jump off, get into his like little rowboat, row off, and then sink the ship. Like that type of stuff is like cool because like they're giving you this freedom of environment where you can do anything. I
Shout out
really want.
to shout out to Angry Joe who actually played that game on the
Oh
floor,
yeah.
and it was absolutely awesome what happened. So make sure you go to Angry Joe's YouTube channel and check out him playing Sea of Thieves. It's
Oh yeah, yeah. Check,
ridiculous.
yeah, check that out. I mean, that's like one of those things. It's giving you the tools and like what you need to have fun, and it's like creating this open world for you to create your own stories. And I think that's awesome. And I hopefully that game succeeds because Rare is an incredibly talented developer, and they deserve success for what they're doing right now. Ken, anything last to add for Microsoft before we move into Sony?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like you said, I don't want to be overly negative. I think there's some aspects they need work on. I don't wish them any ill. I own the Xbox, so I'm invested.
Same.
You know,
Yeah, me too.
It's just disappointing because the reality is that I use the hardware now, and I can tell you
Yeah.
functionally, there's really no difference. The hardware is just as good as the other.
Yep.
So it's coming down to the software, and it's a bummer to see them do a disservice to their good software like Sea of Thieves, right? When everything's an exclusive, Sea of Thieves doesn't get the shine that it deserves, doesn't stick out the way it should.
Yeah.
But in the same vein, man, I mean, I don't think I don't think they're going anywhere. I think that they're going to come back next E3 and they're going to do something crazy. And that's not to say that I personally, in my feeling, the only people that didn't have missteps this E3 were Ubisoft and Nintendo. For the most part, they had a minor one, but we knew it was coming, kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I completely agree. So now let's go on to the bread and butter of the show. It's like how we spend 95% of our time is to talk PlayStation. I just ran down a list of like what I saw at that press conference. So it opened with Days Gone, then you went God of War, and then you went I lost it. Detroit, and then you went a couple of third parties, and then you had the Shadow of the Colossus reveal, and then you went PlayStation VR, kind of VR heavy. What's up?
They didn't do a bundle, but I was right. They did do a big. That was my other one that I got right out of my
big
5
push.
or 6. Yeah,
I think it was like 6 games. Like 6 games right in a row to push VR, and then oh crap, there's the one game that's about like the little spare or the little moss that was taking like these game of show awards like at E3, and that's huge for a VR game. I think that's awesome. And then of course like the Sean Layden comes out towards the end, and then blows the roof off with that Spider-Man demo from Insomniac, which is like the craziest shit like I've ever seen. And going back, and I was able to see Spider-Man behind closed doors and get confirmations on a bunch of things. People were worried that it's not going to be open world. It's going to be segmented to those like Batman Predator style like gameplay like situations. The game is 100% open world. Another reporter was asking like, what's up with like the white suit, because it looks a little bit different from last year's press conference. It kind of leaked out later that there's going to be different suits in the game pertaining to like different abilities. You got the post stinger at the end with Miles Morales. We know he's going to play some role in the game. I think that's super badass.
Cool.
Yeah, the stories. Mr. Negative is the big villain. Mr. Negative is also Aunt May's boss, and so his interaction with the main villain is going to have direct implications on his loved ones and his family. I think Insomniac's checking all the boxes, man. They're like, they know how to make a Spider-Man game. The wit is there, the dynamic is there. I mean, I was blown away, like, and I got to see it. So I want to know what your guys' thoughts were seeing it on video.
I'd love to play that thing, but first of all, graphically, it is outrageously good looking.
Right.
Like I can't take anything away from it. The only thing I'm a bit withheld about is Spider-Man products are usually a little bit of a letdown. Movies, games. I mean, Spider-Man 2 was very good, but the movies, The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, not for me. The original Spider-Man was good. Spider-Man 2 was very good, but I just think they're very hit and miss. But what they're doing here and what I like is, you said like the story. I think Spider-Man is experienced at the stage of the game. He's like 8 years as Spider-Man, so you're not getting the teenager. I'm kind of sick of seeing the teenager Spider-Man that's just learning his powers. At least now you're totally badass. I think that's cool. I think it's very different. What I seen, the gameplay footage, what I seen, it looks interesting. I'm not 100% sure about the quick time events, but like I've heard them say that this is to show off the big showcase pieces and the boss fights and stuff. So, there's quick time events in many games, Uncharted.
That's what.
So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. It looks beautiful. I'm definitely gonna pick it up.
Yeah, I was told that behind closed doors. That was another question. It was like they showed it on Monday evening. Tuesday, I didn't get to see it. Wednesday, I saw it behind closed doors. And that was like the discussion of like, what the hell is up with all these like QTEs? And they're like, the reason we have the QTE events is because if you're playing this like just freestyle, something can go wrong. And we want to, like you said, we want to showcase these like big holy shit set piece.
Uncharted does it like, I mean,
yeah, it does the same thing. And so like, that's why I can't knock it for doing that. And I think that,
like a lot of the games that is barring its combat from like your Batmans and your, Shadow Mordor and that kind of stuff. They do that too. They just don't put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
And for an open world game, I think it's a little more necessary to put it up on the screen,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like, but I mean, I can't. That was that. If I had to pick a game of show and give an award, it was Spider-Man, dude. Like, I think that booth was so awesome. Like, you walked in the booth, there's like a helicopter like hanging upside down. There's like a building. There's Spider-Man like hanging on top of the helicopter. There's all these like little like cool like nuance like little hidden things. It was Norman Osborn's running for mayor. You saw there's like this mailbox is painted with like the number 6, and so this is the Sinister Six like somewhere like secretly in the game. Like they haven't released that yet, but that game's 2018. They've confirmed that, and I can't wait to, man. That game's already at the top.
Whether you're a Switch owner, Xbox owner, PC owner, I guarantee you everybody was talking about that Spider-Man gameplay trailer.
Oh yeah.
So and then that's all that needed to be done.
Oh man, Ronan, you set me up for another segue. The other thing everyone was talking about was halfway through that conference, we got the Shadow of the Colossus remaster / like reimagining. I haven't seen more details on it, but what I have been told is they're not just putting like it's developed by Blue Point Games, who are really famous for
remake.
They're remastering a remaster.
Yeah, it's a straight up.
Yeah, they're literally just completely rebuilding the game. They're putting new assets in on the same engine, is how I think I heard a guy explain it.
Yeah. So I mean, like my biggest problem with Shadow of the Colossus, I only got halfway through it, was the climbing mechanic and holding onto the hair of like the Colossus was like so cumbersome. And so when I heard it, they're rebuilding it from the ground up for like modern day controls and camera angles. And I was like, I don't even know why I was so excited, but I was like, fuck yeah, dude, that's awesome. But I was like, oh wait, it's like you didn't really like the original one. I'm like, yeah, but there's something like with this game. It's like the lore's there, its place in video gaming history is there, and I want to see it and see it all the way through. It's like I know the story and I want to know like how it unfolds. I've never looked up a spoiler, so I can't wait to play it, man. What were your guys'
Worth
reaction
playing.
to Shadow of the Colossus? Yeah.
Go on, you take it first, kid.
Yeah, I love Shadow of Colossus, the original one. That was kind of a watershed moment in gaming for me and the group of guys that I used to play with a lot at that time. I think it's fantastic. That game has, before anybody else really did it in a way that they did. I mean, you know, prior to them, I guess God of War would be really the only game that tried to go for spectacle in a way that they did. And God of War did it through a lot of trickery, and it was obvious. It was cool, but it was obvious that the tricks that they were using to make the enemies feel as big as they were.
Right.
And Shadow of the Colossus just did it. They put them on screen right in front of you, and they were like, you know, this guy is like the size of a skyscraper. He's right there. You're gonna have to deal with him.
Right.
And I think, you know, kind of segueing out of what we were talking about in the last zone, the lack of QTE type stuff in Shadow of Colossus is what makes it so great and so fun. And the art style is brilliant. I've always liked the art style of that, and I think upgrading it's going to make for some more of those really cool visual moments that I loved in that game. But I think that people are going to pick up that game, myself included, and realize that even a new coat of polish on that game, it's going to show its age. But, you know, I still watch movies from when I was a kid that got, you know, The Goonies is corny, but I still love it, you know.
Yeah, same, dude. Yeah, I can't wait. Ronan, where did Shadow of the Colossus like move on your excitement meter?
Like, I smiled when I seen it because Shadow of the Colossus, it's one of my favorite games of all time. Going back to what Ken said, it's the type of game that comes out like Metal Gear Solid that just does something completely different. You compare it to God of War, and I can see that, but with Shadow, it had its lore, it had its, you know, its weird mechanic where Sean, it didn't really grab you, but I love the fact that you had a grip meter and you had to, you know, manage your grip and try and get up one of these towering, no, I won't even say enemies, because there's parts in the game that you feel sorry for them after you kill them. You know what I mean? And there's a sense of emotion through that whole game where each Colossus you take, now this isn't spoiler because if you got halfway through the game you'll know, but each Colossus you kill takes a little bit of life off you and gives it to the person you're trying to save.
Right.
And as you go through the game, you realize like you're taking the lives of these Colossus for your own benefit. It's a phenomenal game. It's a masterpiece. It's one of those games where at first I was like, I'm not sure whether I want it remastered, because the old art style has its charm and it had effects that, you know, it did kind of cool things like Dark Souls 1 did, where in the distance it kind of makes you believe that there's this world and you know, this place to discover. The horse riding in it is there's no better mechanic on horseback in any other game. I don't care whether it's the Witcher 3. The horse in Shadow of the Colossus feels alive, and you almost have a sense of not fully controlling the horse. I'm super excited for it. I think for me it was the biggest takeaway from the show, and it's also a disadvantage as well because I don't want the biggest takeaway to be a remake of an old game that we've already had. Sure. For me, E3 like last year blew this year out of the water as far as, you know, moments where I kind of stood back and went, whoa, like this is coming out or that's coming out. And I think what they're doing this year is they're kind of withholding announcing games that are going to be released 5 years from now or 3 years from now. They're you know, they're going to announce games that are going to be released next year or very soon. But
I think you're onto something like right there. And like my last note on here on my notes is like there's a lot of games coming in 2018 that are going to be first party heavy. Sony is like doing this thing where like it comes in like waves, right? It's like they'll announce things that are like 3 years down the line, and then it comes the year before where it's like, okay, we know everything coming out, so now it's just showcasing these titles coming out. Now I project in 2018 we're going to go back to a cycle of, okay, now it's time for like more surprise games coming out because these games will all be released. It's like, what's Sucker Punch working on? What's Sony Japan working on? Is Bloodborne 2 like a real thing?
Well, keep in mind too, we've still got 2 more because Sony's media cycle is a little different than everybody else's.
Right.
We've still got 2 more major events for them.
2 shows. Yeah.
Whether they do a Gamescom or a Paris Games Week, whatever they decide to do this year, is usually they have one at least big announcement for that.
Yeah.
And then PSX, they usually have 2 or 3 really big announcements for PSX.
Yeah, well, it was last year was Uncharted, like Lost Legacy, and what was the other? Last of Us, dude.
Last of Us 2. And,
so Last of Us 2, I see being showcased at E3 2018.
Even though the interest on it's kind of waned, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Oh, dude,
that got announced before. Did that? I can't remember.
The scuttlebutt like around the floor is, dude. Marvel vs. Capcom is looking trash. Like, and I've just heard like so many bad things about the game, and that sucks because when it was announced, we were standing like right there, like outside and watching the screen, and people like lost their mind. Yeah. And now it's like being developed, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be cool. Like I haven't played an MVC game in a long time, and people are playing it, and you're like, this looks like a PS2 to PS3 game. What the hell did they do that art style? And I was like, oh, this is not good for this team and like Capcom, man. So Godspeed on Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, but I think they've got like a Street Fighter V situation going on here where it's like it is not great.
Well, the sad part about Street Fighter V is its issue is content, right? But the game mechanically and art style wise is amazing and beautiful.
Yeah.
And they have a demo. You can go play some Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite right now.
Did you play it?
Yeah, 1-button combos makes me want to kick somebody in the teeth. Like,
because
I've never played a fucking fighting game. Like, I told my buddy, one of my buddies who may be on the show at some point. I won't air him out though.
Get on the show, random friend.
Shout out, KG.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thanks, Rob. He hates fighting games, cannot stand them. And I was giving him a hard time last night. I was like, it's essentially the fighting game for you because it's got one button combos. He's like, fuck you, man. Even I don't like that. If I'm going to be good at it, I want to be good at it. And it kind of brought up a point. It makes me wonder, who the fuck is that for? Like, it's for, you know who it's for? It's for mobile gamers.
It's for me.
That is a mobile game.
I can't do combos. I hit one button all the time, and I can do cool shit. But I'm not playing that game. I think it's trash, dude. I played that demo. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, no, man. Just no on that game. All right, before we go to our
the good news is we are going to get a good Marvel vs. Capcom game from Arc Systems, and it's going to be skinned in Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Fighter Z looks awesome,
dude. It looks batshit insane, man. Even though that was on Microsoft stage, that's multi-platform. And just like that 30-second, I was like, holy crap, this thing is so busy and so intense. But dude,
there is a gameplay trailer floating around out there that you should definitely, if you get a chance to I forget who did it. Well, I'll tell you offline when I figure it out. But it actually walks you through a fight, and you see how that animation stuff and how those transitions work. It is fucking brilliant, man. Really cool looking game.
I'm all about it.
Do a few honorable mentions there of kind of first party stuff from Sony because we're
I think coming out of E3 last year, I wasn't really sold on Days Gone. It looked like another just pumping bullets like into zombies, and I think that demo from Sony Bend was like really good. It was methodically taking the character like out of his home base and showing you like why you're going on these missions. His purpose was to find his friend that's been captured. How do you use the environment around you? It reminded me a lot of The Last of Us with like placing traps. Like when he placed the bear trap, signaled the guy over there, he got trapped. Then like a bunch of other like NPCs walked over, started interacting with him. You're able to sneak by. And there's the whole thing where he's like crouching behind that log and he peeks his head over and it's like the 50 or 60 freakers that are like just eating. Awesome. And I'm like, holy shit. Like that's actually running in engine. And then bringing that same like flock of freakers like into that encampment and setting them loose. I'm like, this is what they're talking about. Like now I get what this game is.
That they had one job on that game, and it was to make people care. And props to Ben because they figured it out. That definitely, after watching that video, you go, "Oh, this is why I should care." Yeah. I thought one of the really neat moments was something if you blinked, you missed it. But when he set the bear trap off on the guy, and they're talking, and he looks sort of over the cliff as he's walking by, you could see a big herd of them moving across the bridge.
That's
and when
awesome.
you hear the gunshot go off behind you, you can see them below, and the realization of the noise ripple through that herd, and it runs up the bridge to get those people behind you. It just looked really cool, you know?
Yeah, I haven't seen, So I mean, like if I have an honorable mention, it's going to be Days Gone, man. Like Detroit looks cool, but you said,
I think Detroit, like if we really want to be 100% honest, is probably, in my opinion, where Telltale should be going, but they're not. Like, Detroit looks really cool, but I think they do those games a disservice. David Cage does his games a disservice every time, and I get it. He wants it to be more like a movie than anything, but he does it a disservice by not presenting it the same way a Telltale game is presented, and sort of explaining to people that what the purpose here and what the focus is to move the narrative and move the game forward is your story decisions. It's not an action game. It's not going to be a third person adventure. It's a story game with a better quality of interaction than we've seen from the Telltale series, and even what's the other one they announced this year? They announced a sequel to it. Ashley Birch is in it.
Life is Strange.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Life is Strange.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point. It's like it's Detroit, and then there's Life is Strange, and it's like Telltale. And I think Life is Strange is closer to like where Detroit and those games are going, but at the same time still holding back a little bit to where Telltale is. Like I'd love to see Telltale just come out with a brand new like AAA game. I'm like, look, we understand narrative, we understand story. Let's actually put this in an engine that works. And like I'm playing Guardians of the Galaxy and it's fine, but I'm playing it because of the Guardians of the Galaxy, not because if it's a Telltale game anymore. And the second that Telltale comes out with franchises I don't care about, I don't play their games. Like I didn't play any of the Minecraft stuff, so I don't care. But if there's a narrative story that I want to play, like I can deal with like the crappy engine and like the bad mechanics and like the popping in and tearing. Like I can deal with that if it's a story I want to hear. But what Detroit is showing, what Life is Strange is showing, it's taking these characters that I don't have any backstory of, and I don't really know what's going on in their life or like the characters' lives before that, and I want to play them. And that's where this like this I forget the literary term. I'm going to skip it. That's like where the connection is to that character is. I want to play your game, and without like knowing any like previous information about it. So, I mean, yeah, Detroit, Days Gone, 2 really good shout outs from the show. Ronan, what shout outs do you have from the show that we haven't covered?
God of War. I think you have
to
mention that one.
We totally talked about God of War.
Yes. Jesus Christ.
Man.
Like
give me some of that in my face, dude. All of it.
I've said before that God of War, it's like I appreciate that game, but it's not really my style of game. That I won't say button bash him, but kind of beat him up.
Kind of.
Yeah. I like it's not really my style, but this game, I don't know, just graphically it looks amazing. What they showed off, just awesome, and kind of has me interested.
They've shown more character development across 2 trailers in Kratos than they have in the entire franchise before. Dude. I'm so in. Like I'm definitely interested. I've always really liked that series and those characters. It is a bit button mashy. I kind of attribute it to like the letting the quick time events in Uncharted sort of slide. You're going to get a lot of that in there. That's part of the game. That's how they want to do it. But yeah, fuck man. And here's the most interesting part. Multiple people have said that all of that footage was captured on a base PS4.
That's I saw that too. That's absolutely bonkers, man. My favorite thing about that God of War trailer is, I mean, there's 2 things I really liked about it. One was revealed in an interview, like Offset was Kratos actually relies on his son throughout this game, not just for combat mechanics, but actually getting as a translator. Dude, as a translator. I think that's awesome. And the other thing that keeps getting brought up is at the end of the first trailer last year, you saw that gigantic like snake like moving through the environment. And for all intents and purposes, you're gonna have to like cut the head off that snake at some point. In trailer 2, you see the snake, you roll your boat up to it, and Kratos doesn't fight him. He needs his help or its help to actually like develop the narrative like further. And that's like this total 180 of like what would happen in any of the 3 or 4 other like God of War games. It's no, you're 100%. You have to go like kill that thing, and now it's not. And you're like you're interacting with this Norse mythology and these like environments and these creatures in such a way. And then there's the other the side characters like that are awesome. Like they're actually like bringing like brevity and this lightness to the story, which I think Sony Santa Monica and like what those guys are doing is like just unbelievably cool, and I can't wait to play that game. And I think Sony's first party is set up like so well in 2018. It's like bonkers, dude. Like if that's Q1, I'm assuming Spider-Man's Q2, Detroit's Q3, and something else that. Now I have to put Days Gone somewhere in there. I don't know, but I think 2018 is going to be like this bombshell of a year for like PlayStation first party, man. It's going to be great.
I've just one more mention of a game that I just wanted to bring up because it's something different, and I like the previous game. A Way Out. I am super interested in that one.
Yeah,
because I think it's important that as far as I know, it's split screen, regardless whether it's locally or over
You
a
have to play
network.
split screen, local or online.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and we've seen a couple of things where, do you take the gun? Does your buddy take the gun? There's a couple of cool moments in that game, and if it gets it right, which I think it will, because a Tale of Two Sons, I think was the name of it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that game. It was almost a co-op game that you play by yourself with the two analog sticks.
Yeah.
And it was done really cool. I like the way they're giving him leeway to do what he wants to do. And, it looks kind of low budget, but I don't care. Once I have fun and, you can bring one of your mates over and try and escape a prison, it could be awesome.
Yeah, I think what's cool about that game is we see games like so often like pull from film or cinema to like actually gain inspiration. Like Uncharted is definitely Indiana Jones. You have like multiple like Star Wars like games like influenced by that. For the director and like the lead of this game to be like influenced by the Shawshank Redemption of all things.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like it's such like this like random film to be inspired by, but the fact he's doing it and like
and he came over. I don't know if you know the background, but he came over from the film side. Like,
oh, cool.
Yeah, he wants to do games.
He should have been doing. He wanted to make games. He was set up to do directing, I think, before.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So the opportunity to get that level of narrative and character development, because I don't think games are getting there, but it's still not on the same level of writing as the film industry kind of requires. There's a lot of nuance there.
Sure.
And a lot of greatness to stand on there. And so I think that's really cool. Another game that I feel like is kind of steered into all the great things about their narrative, and I kind of want to give it a shout out because it's a third-party game, and I don't think it would come up otherwise, is Wolfenstein 2. Like,
oh yeah.
If you could actually make a case for a trailer melting your face off, like that trailer, my girlfriend was sitting next to me watching it, and because there's that build in it where they're sort of they're giving you tone pieces at first, and then it rolls into some of the where like the Nazis walking the guys with the hoods on, and Nicole looks at me, she goes, what is this for? And I was like, it's for a game. And she goes, all this for a game? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, like that game looks phenomenal.
The first one was awesome as well.
Yeah. The scene in like the Wolfenstein 2 trailer that like this sold me was the whole strawberry milkshake at the diner. Like that sequence is like so carefully crafted, like through like the script and like how you actually have to engage that to like create tension. And you're like, oh fuck, dude, what's going on with the strawberry shake? Like something's not going to go right. Like, oh my God. Like I felt tense, like watching it, which doesn't happen. And so hats off for the Bethesda studio. Like, who's making, it's not Arcane. Who's making that, Ken? Do you know? What's the
Machine Games.
Machine Games, yeah, dude. Whatever Kool-Aid they're drinking in Poland, dude, like give us that Kool-Aid because like they're onto something awesome. It's them and CD Projekt Red who are just like crushing it these days. But I mean, I'm gonna wrap up E3 at that point because we have one last question at the end that actually our Ronan gave to us, which I think is like really cool. Because I never thought about this was how important are these remasters to the industry itself, and what's their point? Ronan, you asked the question. I want to field that to you first, sir. Like, what's your thought process on it?
When I kind of thought of the question earlier on, I thought of the year one cycle of the PS4, where it was a case we weren't getting a whole lot of games, but it felt like they were being filled in by remasters.
Sure.
I think we're getting to the stage now, a really kind of good stage in the remaster cycle, where we're not only getting a HD upgrade, we're actually getting, a full-on remaster, like, upgraded graphics, the likes of, Final Fantasy VII is getting a massive overhaul if we ever get to see that game in the next 10 years. But
dude, I don't know about that game, man. I think that thing is like in real trouble. Exclusive. Yeah, PS5 launch.
Well, it's obviously going through development hell, but I mean, we might see it and we might not. But even games like Shadow of the Colossus we mentioned earlier, these games are, they're important to the gaming industry, like as a whole. And the fact that they can live on just a little bit longer through a remaster, I think remastering games is really important. A lot of people say, oh, another remaster, like blah, blah, blah. But if it doesn't matter to you, well, then just let it slide. Like these games, especially Shadow, for me, is one of my favorite games of all time.
Right.
you know, it's great to see these games, you know, have a resurgence. Like Shadow of the Colossus didn't sell particularly well. You know, it wasn't an Uncharted or a massive, you know, a Last of Us, but it was a cult following. It was that game where you go over to your friend's house and it's at the bottom of the pile and you're like, what's that? And it's like, oh, you've never played Shadow, and you couldn't even buy it in a GameStop, I remember, in town. And to see them games, you know, getting the up, and I think for Japan studios, it's a little sorry for The Last Guardian for taking so long, you know, for not being the game that everyone wanted to be. It's like, here's a game that, you know, that went off of The Last Guardian and what you expected. So for me, keep bringing them out. I think it's better now that we're getting, you know, full on remasters. I think the HD remasters were a little bit of a cash cow, but you know, if it doesn't cost a lot to do them, keep bringing them out and keep doing them and keep letting games survive and live on for as long as possible. Because I mean, that's why we play games, is to you know, to have fun and to reimagine games of old.
Yeah, Kent, what do you think? Remasters?
Well, I actually pretty much agree with Ronan. I think that you know, I'm a big fan of GameScoop. I watched that a lot, and back when Jared was at IGN. Him and Justin and Sam would talk a lot about, you know, the nature of video games now and how people are going to preserve them. And I think that for some of these games, they're pushing so hard to get the technology as far as they can that the consoles are just not going to last like they used to. You know, my TurboGrafx 16 has lasted forever because it's underbuilt. You know, the pieces in it can do more. It's just kind of weighed down by their proprietary BS. It's a single board system. It's really simple. It's going to last forever, you know, potentially. And the current consoles don't. You know, a lot of people, especially the older you know, the PS3s got, you know, they kind of showed their fragility. And the Xboxes had issues right out the gate, you know, that I don't think went away. They just improved them. It's just the nature of the beast. And I think we're going to see the same things continue. So to be able to sort of move these pieces of art forward and sort of curate them, I think is really good. The flip side of that is that, you know, like you said, it's a cash grab a lot of times, and I don't think that that's the right way to go about it. Do we need to preserve Shadow of Mordor on the console right after the console it came out on?
Probably not.
You know, and that's not a knock against that game. It's a great game. You're giving it, you know, when I weigh the need for me to have a remastered version of all three Uncharteds against Shadow of Mordor, or if I weigh the need to have Shadow of Colossus against, you know, a game of that ilk, you know, Darksiders remastered, you know.
Right.
So it's case by case, but I think that as long as that system stays in place, I think that'll be great. And that's why I really like Virtual Console, and I like the minis and stuff that PlayStation has done, because that's a really great way to give people the opportunity to pay for that stuff, to port it over in a very true to life fashion, even though you don't get a lot of the great bells and whistles, and allow it to live on in a larger scale than maybe waiting for them to cherry pick sort of these curated pieces of gaming history to really remake and give that special treatment. There's some of the odder corners get to survive there too, you know?
Yeah, I think you guys hit like pretty much all the points I wanted to make. The one thing I do want to add though is I think remasters are necessary, and I think they're necessary in the positive and negative vibe when we're talking about the gaming the genre itself. And in a positive way, I think they're necessary for, you said, Kent, for preservation. I think doing these remasters for games that might have missed an audience is really cool. Like I didn't play Wii U, right? But the fact that these games might be released on Switch, I'm glad to play it back. I never finished Super Mario Sunshine on GameCube, but for the fact that it has the potential to come out on Virtual Console, I'm glad that that's being preserved and I get to play it once again. And that goes with Ronan. You brought up Symphony of the Night at the outset of the show, and I think that's not a remaster, but you're making that digitally. Oh, I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess you'd have to remaster that a little bit for actually. Yeah, you'd have to do it to like preserve that game. And we're talking about a PS1 game that we're all super fond of for like 5 minutes at the beginning of the show, and that we're allowed to do that because of these remasters. On the negative, and not so negative, just like the money side as we talked about, I think they're necessary for devs to put out remasters of their old game to fund the next project. Like, if I don't have any sources or any like background information to this, but Rocksteady is a publisher of like the Batman remasters that I'm playing right now. that there is an absolute certainty that they're getting a kickback, not a kickback, but funding from those games sold to fund the next project and to ensure that people have jobs. And in the same way, you brought up Darksiders, and Darksiders have both got remastered, and now Darksiders 3 has been announced with that same development team moving forward, just under a different name. And some funds are being allocated to them, so they're able to fuel their projects. And I think this is really important for us moving forward. So when Ronan, you brought up like the first year of the PS4 and how like remasters are kind of getting hounded on a little bit. I was one that I kind of pushed back against it. I was like, oh, some are like kind of ridiculous. Like you said, Ken, like, do you really wait, what example did you just bring up? Oh, Shadow of Mordor, right? Yeah, that's Mordor, one. Yeah, you don't need to like remaster that right away, but I can understand why they did it. I might not agree with it. But yeah, I think they're necessary in both ways. And I think we play the ones that you want to play and don't play the ones you don't want to play. And at the end of the day, that we have to all remember that these are toys in our hands and have fun, like no matter what. And I think that's a good way to close out the show. And before we do official sign off, or we'll start official sign offs, Kent, where can the fine people meet you before the next show?
I am everywhere at SQU1RP. PlayStation, Xbox, Switch. Don't add me on Switch because I like to talk to people, and that whole thing's a mess.
You don't want to get the phone with the 4 dongles? Come on.
I got a dongle for him.
Yeah, we got a dongle. Ronan, where can the fine people find you at? Pimp away, sir.
Check us out on our Instagram at the Alpha Zone Gaming, on our YouTube, which is getting a good bit of momentum now. We're up to about 80 subscribers. I'm hoping to hit 100 by the end of maybe next month. I'm going to do a real push on it. So yeah, get subscribing onto that thing. And yeah, just our Twitter page then at the AlphaCast.
Cool. And if people want to find me, I'm Adonai, Adonai, on PSN. Everywhere else, I'm my name. On Twitter is the only place that actually has underscores, so it's Sean_P_Malloy. Everywhere else is just spell it out, one word. I close every show the same way. We get together when we can to talk about games because we love them. We don't have sponsors. We like to gather from all corners of the globe. Ronan's almost 2 a.m. like where he is right now. So yeah. We do it because we love to do it. We love talking, and this is our outlet where we're able to nerd out for an hour. So once again, like, thank you for watching live. Thank you for watching on YouTube. If you're watching there, subscribe, click the little like button. Ronan, I don't know where on the screen the button's going to be. I think it's like here. Like, yeah, it's over this way. Anyway. Here. Oh yeah, click where Ronan's pointing and then subscribe to us. We'd really appreciate it. But otherwise, my name's Sean Malloy, and for the guys, we are out.